Mark Hastings fired me yesterday, just like that, without warning, without reason. The day he handed me the termination letter, he strutted out of my office with that smug look as if he had won something. But what he didn't know, what no one in that building knew, was that 2 days ago I had secretly become the majority owner of the company, the very company he thought he controlled. I stared at the letter in my hands, my heart pounding with disbelief, humiliation, and a strange, simmering thrill, rage and incredulity mixed with excitement. All these months of belittlement, mocking, and condescension were about to come full circle. Mark had no idea the storm he had triggered. I'm Alex Mercer, 35, and I had spent over a decade climbing the corporate ladder. I started as an entry-level analyst while colleagues flaunted their promotions and titles. I worked hard quietly, keeping my focus on long-term gains rather than short-term applause. The new CEO, Mark Hastings, joined last month promising innovation and efficiency. But the truth, he thrived on putting anyone in their place who had built the company before him. He mocked, belittled, and humiliated anyone who dared speak up. I tolerated it for a while until it crossed a line I could not ignore. When Mark first arrived, he would enter meetings with a swagger, scanning the room like a king surveying his kingdom. He would smile at someone's suggestion only to mock it seconds later. He called me slow in front of my team, laughed at my strategic presentations, and publicly corrected minor errors as if they were major disasters. Each insult cut deeper than the last, but I held my tongue. I needed him to underestimate me. I remembered the early days of my career vividly. Fresh out of college, I was eager, ambitious, and full of energy. My first job was a small position in the finance department, and every day felt like proving myself to people who already assumed I wouldn't make it. I worked late nights, missed family gatherings, and poured everything I had into spreadsheets and presentations. Yet somehow I was always overlooked. Promotions went to people who networked better, smiled more, and flattered the bosses. I learned early that hard work alone wasn't enough. You needed strategy, patience, and timing. Even before my career, life had taught me lessons about perseverance. I grew up in a household where mistakes were criticized harshly and achievements were never celebrated enough. My parents were practical and demanding. They wanted perfection, and anything less felt like failure. My younger siblings seemed to excel effortlessly, while I had to fight for recognition at every step. That environment taught me resilience, patience, and the value of planning, though I didn't realize it until years later. 2 days ago, that patience paid off. I finalized the purchase of a controlling stake in the company. It had taken months, careful negotiations, hidden transfers, discreet conversations, but it was done. I now held the majority of shares. I could fire anyone I wanted, replace the board, and make executive decisions without opposition. And Mark, he had no clue. Yesterday, when he walked into my office, I pretended to be stunned and vulnerable. "We've decided to let you go effective immediately," he said, handing me the termination letter. He grinned, satisfied. I nodded slowly, hiding the smirk that threatened to betray me. "I see," I said, my voice calm. "Thank you for letting me know." I left the office quietly, as if defeated. My team looked at me with sympathy, unaware that the person they pitied had just gained absolute power. That night, I reviewed every detail of the company structure, every contract, every board member's influence. I saw the full picture. I saw how easy it would be to reclaim control and how Mark would be utterly unprepared. It wasn't just about revenge, it was about justice. Months of belittlement, dismissals, and underestimation could not go unanswered. I remembered the countless meetings where he laughed at my proposals, the board presentations where he took credit for ideas I had developed, and the endless microaggressions that made my life miserable. Every insult he threw would return to him tomorrow, silently but devastatingly. I thought about the board meeting. I imagined the look on his face when I presented the facts. I imagined him realizing that the company he thought he ran was now under my control. My heart raced just thinking about it. I had to play it smart, though. Acting too early could alert him, and I wanted him completely blindsided. The next morning, I arrived at the office early. I passed by Mark's office where he was smugly talking to a junior manager about how easy it is to get rid of incompetent employees. I smiled internally. Incompetent? He didn't know who he was dealing with. I walked past him, keeping my expression neutral, letting him believe I was still the powerless analyst he thought I was. Hours passed as I prepared for the board meeting. I reviewed every shareholder agreement, every clause, every loophole. I wanted absolute certainty. Then I drafted my presentation, a calm, professional, and undeniable revelation that would expose the truth to the board. I was meticulous. Every word had to land, every slide had to demonstrate the reality. I recalled moments when Mark's arrogance had cut the deepest. The time he mocked my father's humble background in front of the entire board. The time he laughed when I suggested an international expansion strategy. The time he openly questioned my loyalty during a team briefing. All of it fueled a quiet determination inside me. I also remembered the personal toll. I had stayed up late at night, feeling exhausted and hopeless after particularly humiliating days. I had questioned myself, my abilities, even my worth. There were nights when I wondered if I was meant to fail, if I would always be overshadowed by people who seemed luckier, bolder, and louder. But I realized something crucial. It's not about how fast you move. It's about how smart you play the long game. The moment arrived. Board members took their seats and Mark entered, looking confident, smug, and completely unaware of what was coming. I could see it in his eyes. He thought he was about to present his vision, to demonstrate authority, to claim victory over me. He had no idea that this would be his undoing. I began speaking calmly, professionally. Before we start today's agenda, I said, there's an important update regarding the ownership structure of the company. I saw his smile falter. As of 2 days ago, I am the majority shareholder. I didn't raise my voice, I didn't gloat, I simply stated the fact. Silence filled the room. Mark's face drained of color. What do you mean? He stammered. I continued, showing the legal documents, share transfers, and proof of ownership. Board members leaned forward, shocked, murmuring among themselves. This was the moment I had been preparing for. You've been fired? Mark finally asked, a mixture of disbelief and panic in his voice. I nodded. 2 days ago, I became the owner. You, Mark, have just terminated someone who now controls the company. I could feel the weight of every eye in the room on him. He was exposed, humiliated, powerless. Mark tried to speak, to explain, to argue, but the board had the facts in front of them. The truth was undeniable. Every insult he had thrown at me, every mocking comment, every condescending smile, all of it came back to him silently, devastatingly. The very arrogance that had made him blind had now become his undoing. After the meeting, I walked past him in the hall. He looked at me, defeated, a shadow of the man who had once flaunted power. I didn't speak. I didn't need to. My presence was the statement. I had taken control not with rage or shouting, but with patience, strategy, and careful planning. The emotions hit me hard: relief, triumph, and even a twinge of sadness. Sadness for the person I used to be, the one who endured humiliation silently. Relief that justice had finally been served. Triumph because I had turned weakness into strength. I felt alive in a way I never had before, as if every challenge I faced had prepared me for this exact moment. Looking back, I realized something crucial. Life doesn't reward the loudest voices or the most aggressive personalities. Life rewards patience, strategy, and resilience. Those who endure in silence, learn in secret, and act with precision always find their moment. And my moment had arrived. This story isn't just about revenge, it's about empowerment. If you're watching this and feeling underestimated, ignored, or belittled, remember my story. You can turn your challenges into power. Every insult, every doubt, every "you can't" can fuel your future. Even now, I reflect on the lessons learned. I have learned that humiliation is temporary, but strategic planning is permanent. I've learned that the people who doubt you often set the stage for your ultimate victory. I've learned that patience, resilience, and intelligence can transform a seemingly weak position into absolute control. And here's what I want you to do. Like this video if you believe in turning adversity into triumph, subscribe for more stories of revenge and justice, and share it with someone who needs to hear that they are stronger than they think. Mark Hastings would recover eventually, perhaps find another job, perhaps even regain some semblance of confidence. But he would never forget the day he fired the person who secretly owned everything. And I, Alex Mercer, 35, would never forget the thrill of watching justice unfold quietly, perfectly, and completely. So, if you've ever been mocked, underestimated, or humiliated, you're not alone. Your victory might be closer than you think. Like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell, because stories like mine remind you that patience, strategy, and resilience always pay off in the end.